A Knock at the Door is a feature film for Series 2 of Final Girl where you'll be fighting against the intruders at Wingard Cottage. In this scenario, you'll be fighting 3 killers, collecting supplies around the map, and crafting your own special weapons. In this video, I'll go over the special rules for the intruders and Wingard Cottage and clarify some commonly misplayed rules and cards. If you want a general overview of how to play Final Girl, then check out my rules video before you watch this one. Set up the intruders killer board by giving all 3 a random black final health token and 5 hearts for a total of 6 health each. Place the active killer marker here with the red killer. Then put all 3 killers on the killer starting space indicated on the setup card. Use the regular red killer meeple plus the black and gray meeples that are included in the intruder box. Set the 4 supply item cards with a yellow back next to the board. Shuffle the crafted items with a red back and deal out 4 next to the board as well. These will be available to craft throughout the game. Set up everything else as normal. Wingard Cottage has a number of rooms that are inside the house. Indoor spaces are all the house spaces plus the shed and the boathouse. All the other spaces that are not indoor spaces are outdoor spaces. The new mechanic for Wingard Cottage is crafting, and to do this you'll first need to pick up some supply items. There are 4 supply items available across the map: discarded tools, nails, rope, and wood. Discarded tools can be found in the garage, nails are in the shed, rope is in the boathouse, and wood can be found in 2 spaces here and here. If you are in one of these spaces, you can spend 1 time to pick up the supply item and place it in your backpack. If you ever discard or use the item for crafting, you'll place the card next to the board again so you can gain it again later. Note that you cannot pick up a supply item while moving through a space. You must be completely stopped there first. You'll use these supplies along with other items to create crafted items. There are 4 crafted items available at the beginning of each game, and each one specifies what you'll need to craft it and how much time it will cost. For instance, the nail bat requires a wooden bat and nails to craft, and it will cost you 2 time. So if you've got the necessary items, just discard them, pay time, and take the crafted item and put it in your hands or backpack. Regular items that are discarded are out of the game, but supply items go back to the available area again. If you use an item with limited uses to craft an item, then those uses carry over. So if you use a shotgun with only 1 use left to craft the sawed-off shotgun, then it'll only have 1 use too. The intruders are actually 3 different killers. Trish is the red one, Baghead is the gray one, and Zeke is the black one. At any given time, only one of them is active, as indicated by the active killer token here, which starts on the red killer Trish. When resolving killer actions on cards, only apply the actions to the active killer. But some tarot cards will change the active killer with these symbols. This symbol means to move the active killer token down 1, and this symbol means to move the active killer token up 1. After you move the token, the new active killer will perform the killer action. You wrap around the edges, so if Trish is the active killer and you need to move it up, then you move it to Zeke at the bottom. Later in the game, when some of the intruders are dead, you skip over them when moving the active killer token. You may attack or damage any killer, not just the active killer, and when you do, they immediately become the active killer, and you move the active killer token to indicate this. When the active killer is killed, you move the token to the topmost killer that's still alive. More on that later. The default killer action on the back of their finale card applies to all killers. Whenever a card specifies all killers, then you do that action for each killer, starting with the topmost killer and working your way down. So if they're all alive, then during the killer phase, each one will target the closest victim or final girl and attack. Trish will attack first, then Baghead, and finally Zeke. The active killer token will not change, you just temporarily ignore it while doing the all killer action. During the panic phase, if a victim died this turn, then any victims in a space with any killer will panic, not just the active killer. Remember that each victim can only panic once, even if they panic into a space with a different killer. If you draw a minor dark power during the game, then it applies to all killers, not just the active killer. When you damage any of the killers, first remove health from the minor dark power before removing health from the actual killer. Eventually, one of the killers is going to die. Unlike other killers, you do not reveal their final health token right away, and the current phase does not immediately end. Instead, lay the dead killer on its side as a reminder, and then change the active killer to the topmost killer that's still alive. Once the current phase is done, you check the final health token and see if the killer comes back to life or not. Note that I said phase and not round, so check the token at the end of the action phase or the end of the killer phase, depending on when they died. If the token is blank, then remove their meeple from the board and skip over them for the rest of the game when changing the active killer. If their final health token is not blank, then they come back to life. Replace the token with a white one and add any extra hearts just like normal. When any of the killers are on their final health, then you get an extra die for horror rolls, but if multiple killers are on their final health, you still only get 1 extra die. So that's all the special rules for the Intruders and Wingard Cottage. Now I'm going to go over some frequently misplayed rules and cards. First is the shotgun, which says to make a horror roll, and if you roll at least 1 success, then you deal 3 damage to the enemy. It does not deal 3 damage per success. It's either 3 damage or nothing if you fail the roll. But it is a horror roll, so you can convert a partial success to a full success by discarding 2 cards. Next is the Strength in Numbers Dark Power, which adds damage for each killer in the same or an adjacent space. If another killer is dead, but it's unknown whether they will revive or not, then don't count them for the extra damage. Lastly, if there's only 1 killer left and a killer action on a finale or terror card has you moving the active killer token and performing another action, then the remaining killer will do all the actions. For example, the You're Gonna Die finale says the active killer will move and attack, and then you move the active killer down and they move and attack. If there's only 1 killer left, then they are the active killer for both parts and they will move and attack twice. Alright, and that's how you play A Knock at the Door. Let me know in the comments what you think of this feature film and how you'd rate it compared to the others in Series 2. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to me on YouTube. If you want to check out more of my videos, then click the links on the screen and maybe you'll find a new game to play. And with that, Michael Skeleton is out.